Hold on to your mug. We're in for a wild night.
Welcome everybody to another episode of Born to Be Wild, a Wild exclusive Hearthstone podcast where we have fun hanging out with friends, talking about the Wild format of Hearthstone and spotlighting members of the Wild community. I'm your host as always, Nate Wolf. It is good to be back on another beautiful, slightly overcast Friday evening here in Portland, Oregon. And as always, joined by two of my favorite people. Hydra Sheep, how are you doing tonight?
I am doing awesome. I'm coming at you guys from the greater Vancouver area, and it's not exactly the nicest day, but I'm enjoying it. It's nice and cool out. Didn't have to sweat through the day, and I don't have to run my air conditioning in the background and try to mask it for the show. So that's great.
Love it. And of course, Electric Sheep City, how you doing tonight?
Meowdy, I'm doing all right. The work week is finally at a close, and I'm ready to hang out with some friends and chat about the game that we all know and love.
Very, very cool. Well, hey, y'all, we are joined by a very special guest tonight, a relatively new player, and the significant other of a good friend of ours. Welcome to the show, SchmoopieMommy. How are you doing tonight?
I'm well. Thank you for having me.
Yeah,
I'm
absolutely.
very excited. Yes.
It's a blast. So when Schmoopie Daddy came on the show, like, we could not keep a straight face calling him that for like 2 hours. And it's just...
I can't either, so I'm with you.
So he told us the story that Schmoopie was kind of the pet, like the nickname, right, of your child, and so when he came up with his username, it was Schmoopie Daddy. And so then naturally we have SchmoopieMommy. It's great. I love the theme. It's very nice.
Yes, thank you. I said if I was going to make a Hearthstone account, like, this was the only name that would work. And I was really hoping to make it and just like cue into him one day. And then I realized that that's like really hard to do. But it was still fun. So SchmoopieMommy it is.
That's great. I love it. One of the things that we do with everybody when we have a guest on the show is just a kind of a brief introduction for people who, don't know you yet. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself, just as much or as little as you're willing to share, but kind of like, hey, especially as a newer player, like, how did you get into the game, and, what got you into Hearthstone, I guess, and, anything else sort of background that you're willing to share?
So, I do tend to talk a lot, so feel free to, cut me off at any point. And I'm not particularly shy, so also fine with whatever questions. But in terms of how I started on Hearthstone, and the whole drive was behind Schmoopie Daddy. So we have two kids, and we just had our second a few months ago, and our older one is about 3.5. And Schmoopie Daddy is on his phone playing these games, and he'll multitask and he'll do stuff. And I see him playing them. A friend of ours, Neon Heron, they'll chat about it on the phone, because when he'll talk to me about it, I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, this is another language. I'm confused. I'm trying to make breakfast. I don't know what's happening. So after seeing him play this for a really long time, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna play, and I'm gonna see what this is all about. So I just signed up kind of like on a whim, and he was really excited about it. And then I started playing, and there was a lot of like confusion because I didn't know what I was doing. So that was how I got started with it. It was about a month ago. So you're like a month and 2 days into my playing career, so to speak. And I multitask when I do it. So like I'm like making breakfast for the kids and like playing a game. So I've learned a lot. Like, you're not supposed to rope people, but I'm like, but I'm making breakfast. I'm not trying to rope you. I don't mean to be rude. So the knowledge bank has gotten pretty vast, but that's how I've gotten into it. So again, I'm happy to share anything else about myself. I mentioned earlier, I'm a teacher. I'm a high school teacher. I teach biology. So we're, a family of teachers and apparently Hearthstone players. So
Yeah, that's so much fun, and congratulations on the birth of your second. That's so exciting. I remember.
She's a really easy baby. Our first was not as easy, and I don't know if that's because we were new parents or what, but she's much easier than our first.
That's cool. Yeah, we got lucky with ours. I think our son was sleeping through the night really early, and just I don't know, so easy. It's nice. Well, yeah, that's exciting. Do you play any other games, or was this kind of a first for you?
This was the first card game. I know there's an actual term for what kind of game this is, but you'll see that I'm not great on all the terminology. I grew up playing things like Mario and Donkey Kong, and in younger years I played The Sims a lot, but this was the first of this kind. And I found that, getting older and having a job and having the kids, I really don't play as much as I used to. And that was another appeal to this, was I could see my husband playing on his phone, and he could kind of play quickly and do something. And I was like, you know what? Why not try it out and see if it's something that I can game and also do life things. So
They have made it pretty convenient. I think when we all started, it was on the computer only, and then over time it's transitioned to mobile on the phone and on iPads and stuff like that. So it's gotten a little bit easier. Sheep over here is consistently hits legend on lunch break, legend in the bathtub, legend did that's the ongoing joke. You're gonna take your phone jogging with you sometime and hit legend and then fall into a ditch on the side of the road or something.
That's how I always feel about Blister Guy when he's doing his walk to work thing, and you hear him playing a game, and he's like, oh, there's a car, gotta stop. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's one thing I never do is playing while walking. That just seems dangerous.
Yeah.
Playing while in the tub,
you could drop your phone
I'm in the tub.
As long as
but my phone is water resistant, so I've put that to the test once or twice already.
Jeez. As long as you don't play while you're driving, it's good.
I also don't do that.
I remember when our son was little, I was playing a lot of Mass Effect at the time, and he would nap during the day, and it was I just hold him in one hand and hold the controller in the other hand, and get the video game time in when you can, because there was not much sleeping happening.
No, it's been 4 months of not sleeping through the night, and I don't know if this is TMI, but I'm playing because I'm nursing her, and I sit and I nurse her a lot of the day. That's a lot of my time, and I can do that. And the same thing when she falls asleep and takes a nap on me. I'm like, all right, let me just sit here and play some games, because I have a hand free, so why not? But it's it's nice to have something like that, and it's especially nice to have it be something that I'm sending Schmoopie Daddy screenshots and talking to him about it, and it's something that I can now relate to him about, where before I was he would tell me he'd tell me about something, but I had no concept of what the words meant. So I was like, that's great, honey.
Good job.
I got nothing. I'm sorry.
I have learned over the past year or so, I'll hit legend and typically we'd tweet it out, and my wife would ask me she's like, why did you tweeted it out before you told me? I had to read about it on Twitter, and so now I run downstairs, I hit legend, and then I'll go send my tweet.
That's hilarious. I feel like the three of us have a similar situation where we could explain all this Hearthstone stuff to our wives, and they're kind of good job. Don't know what that means. My wife just knows.
So proud of you.
My wife knows when I draw patches, it's bad. She knows that.
Bane of my existence.
Right.
Yell from the other room that I drew patches, and I'm so mad about it.
That's so great.
My wife is the unfortunate beneficiary of much excited dribble about Hearthstone.
That's great. Hey, so let me ask you, from a new player experience, how did you? just from the get-go, did you there's all these like tutorial there, I guess there's a tutorial when you start, and then there's all of these like apprentice ranks. Did you go through those, or did you skip them?
Went through them a little bit. So I mostly spend time in the mage apprentice ranks, and I like in the tutorial, the games where I could play not like against the computer. And that was how I got like any kind of footing. But I didn't feel like things were necessarily explained, because there were things happening, like really simple things that now I look back and I'm like, wow, that's, I probably should have figured that out sooner. But like, I'm sure people watching this are going to be like, really? But I didn't know that the button didn't have to turn green. Like, I started the game and was like, do I have to spend all of this until it turns green?
Oh.
And then he was like, no, you can, it can be yellow. And I was like, oh, okay. I learned that I had to read the cards, because I'm like, how did they do this? What did you do? Like, I didn't find, and maybe I skipped some stuff. Like, I don't know if I did like I missed things. But I practiced before I was ready. Like, I was nervous about playing a real game. And then once I started playing real games, I liked that a lot. So then I started doing that more, because I wanted to earn things. I wanted more cards and such.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm kind of curious what, again, I guess kind of from this new player perspective, like what did they get right versus what didn't they? Were there things that were real obvious to you when playing, or things that were, I guess you sort of answered it already, but was there anything else that you felt was either very intuitive versus or very non-intuitive?
It's kind of a difficult question to answer for two reasons. And the first is that, again, I don't know if I missed something. So I don't want to be like, yeah, they didn't really do a good job explaining stuff, because I might not have done a good job reading stuff. And I think that's like the teacher mindset, where I'm like, before you say that you struggled with something, did you read it? And I don't know if I did what I should have done as a student and read it. But I also know that the second point I had to make was that I tend to learn that way. Like, I like process of, just kind of going through something and figuring it out. Like, if I do this, what happens? And again, science teacher, I think that's like my mindset. So with video games, I usually do that. I kind of just like jump in and I see what happens, and then I learn from that. So I didn't feel like it was a poor tutorial. I just didn't feel like, I feel like I learned the way I always learn, which is trial and error. Mm-hmm. I got to a point in the rambling, but that was it.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And yeah, we had a question here. Like, one of the things that the game has done recently was to add a bunch of like alternate artwork to the hero portraits. Did you find that confusing at all? What class am I playing against? Because there's so many different portraits now.
100%. I did. I was completely confused. I was like, who is this? What is it? And like, I would be describing them to Schmoopie Daddy. I'm like, he looks like Batman. And he's like, Hunter? And I was like, yeah, that one. Okay. And I do that a lot with things. And he usually finds my descriptions entertaining, because I see what I see in those pictures, in those portraits. So yeah, it was definitely confusing to me. And even that, when I first started playing, like, I knew there were different cards being played, but I didn't have a strategy, like, of this is how I combat this kind of deck. Where he immediately, he's like, this is that kind of deck. And I'm like, no idea. So I'm still, like, I feel like at this point, the deck I've been playing, I know fairly well. And I'm starting to understand how to combat other decks that I've seen multiple times now. But at first, I would say overwhelmed is a really good way to describe it, where I was just like kind of just flying. And if I won, I won. And if I didn't, I didn't. And I tried to learn from that each time.
Thinking about that, it almost makes it seem like we had it easier, right? Like, when we saw the hero portrait, it was always like, if you were mage, you were just the regular Jaina, right? Like, that's all it was. Yeah. That's it. So like,
unless they had 500 wins, then it was shiny.
Then it was a shiny Jaina, right? So that, like, for us, it was just, that's all it was. And then there was a way smaller pool of cards, extremely smaller. So like, for us, it was, there's only a couple decks it could be, but you're playing Wild. All of the cards exist since like 2014. So it's a lot to take on.
It is. I'm still like discovering new stuff, and some of it was kind of funny too. I think, in contrast to where Schmoopie Daddy normally plays, when I was first starting and I was in those lower ranks, he would look at something and he'd be like, "Oh, they're playing blah blah blah," and then they would do something, and he's like, "Wait, what are they playing?" And it would be, someone's homebrewed deck or something like that, and it was even confusing for him. So that was kind of entertaining. It wasn't just me who was lost. But like I said, now I can kind of identify some things, and like playing, I don't know if I'm getting ahead of myself, but playing the Scimitar Rogue, like I feel like I know those cards and I know how they interact and I know what to do. And that's where I found like some success, is that I was able to do that. Not so much like now I pay attention. I wasn't paying attention to who I was playing. He would ask me and I'm like, I don't know, this guy, this one. Now I look at the corner and I'm like, who is it and what are you? And how do I fight that? And now I'm starting to recognize things. So
very cool.
Progress.
Is there anything that you particularly either enjoy about the game or particularly dislike about the game?
I feel like this is a really silly answer. I like winning. I like to win.
Yeah.
I didn't think I would care about this at all when I started. I was like, play, this can be fun, whatever. And then the more I've played, the more I'm like, I didn't think I would be anywhere near legend. I didn't think that was like even something I cared about a few weeks ago. And now I'm like, but I made it to Diamond 1. Can I do this? Like, I've been freaking out about it for the last few days, and I've probably gone through like a really severe roller coaster of caring about this game that I didn't think that I would. I mean, I've always been that kind of game player. Like, I've always like really invested, and like I want to finish. I like to complete things, and I like to do it on my own. My mother said about age 3, I started saying like I do it myself, and I've been like that the rest of my life. So I like that I'm kind of invested, I guess. Like I want to achieve. I like that there's a lot of achievements, but even that I find overwhelming because I've been playing one class. Like I have all these other classes I haven't even touched yet. And that's not a dislike. It's just kind of like there's a lot. So I've definitely got like way more time ahead of me to put in to get to those things. Major dislikes. I don't know. I don't think I had something that I'm like, yeah, I mean, nobody likes to lose, but I also accept that that's part of it. Like you're going to lose sometimes. You're not always going to have a favorable matchup, or you're just not going to win all the time, and that's okay. But I don't think there's anything that I'm like, yeah, I really hate this.
I want you to know, as a brand new player, to hit Diamond 1 in your first month, like it's only been, we're 20 days into the month. That's remarkable. Like it took me at least a year and a half or something like that.
Oh yeah.
To hit legend. Like it's like mind blowing. That's incredible. So I'm not just saying that. Like that's amazing. That's super cool.
And there was no star bonus involved in that either, if you think about it, right? Like for me to hit Diamond 1, it's a smooth ride all the way to Diamond 5 because I have a star bonus the entire time. Right? And you did it where it was literally, you get a win, you get a star. You lose a star.
But if you win 3 in a row, then you get 2 stars until Diamond 5.
Basically, you climbed the ladder the way we used to have to climb the ladder. Because that's the way it was for everyone all the time.
It's like hard mode though. Like that's incredible. Yeah.
That's what I thought was interesting too, because I don't know anything else. So Schmoopie Daddy is like, well, this is a difficult meta, and you're doing really well, and I'm just like, but I don't know anything else. So like, cool, like great, that's awesome. I've also played an absorbent amount of games. Like it's but I'm not trying to downplay it. Like I'm still really excited that I was able to accomplish that, and that apparently it's much tougher. Like, and not for nothing, when he was like, hey, these guys want you to come on their podcast, the one I did back in November, and I was like, what? are you sure? I almost said no because I was like terrified. I was like, what do you mean? And then I was like, I softened to the idea after a few minutes of like what? I just picked this up to like, talk to you about it, and here's where we are. I was also stunned that people record games because I was like, wait, they recorded all the stupid things I did and then they posted it and talked about it? That's terrifying. So there's been a lot. Like, I've learned an immense amount of stuff in the last month.
Oh,
I was just gonna say your dedication with like the one deck that you have like really mastered and you're really really playing actually really goes to show if you really learn one deck and master one deck, like you don't need to like we often do a thing where we'll switch decks because we got multiple decks and we could be like, oh, I'm gonna play this, I'm losing, I can play that, I'm losing, but you are playing this deck and you're killing it with this deck. So it's got to, that helps me really think about the times where I'm like, this isn't working out, I'm going to switch to counter the meta. But you're just rocking it, not even really understanding what the whole meta really is with this deck, and really obviously learned it through and through.
Thank you. Yeah, I like having my one deck, but it's also like kind of all I have. Like, I did start with just whatever I earned, and I'm playing with, free cards, right? That's how it's termed. I did have a little help because Schmoopie Daddy built my Scimitar Rogue deck for me. Like, I wouldn't necessarily have known how to put that together unless I went onto the internet and found it, which I know a lot of people do. They have deck lists, and that was his call. He was like, I think you're gonna like this, so let's try it. And I was like, okay, cool. And then he told me about patches and stuff like right off the bat, and it went in one ear and out the other. Like, that's not how I learned. So he said it, I heard the words, and I was just like, sometimes you prep a coin and then you learn not to do that again. And you draw patches and you're like, no, I want my free pirate, so no. And then you try not to draw patches. So like, I am in at first I wasn't always playing the pirate turn one if I had one because I wanted to use it with my cannon, and then I was like, just play the damn pirate, you have to play the pirate. So I've learned a lot, but like, he was trying to explain this to me, and it just had no it just doesn't stick in my mind until I do it. And then I've played a lot of games, so I've definitely made my fair share of mistakes.
So I guess we've kind of been dancing around it a little bit. The deck that you've been playing is a rogue deck that I guess we call it Scimitar Rogue. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
I'm clicked. Okay, there we go. So I don't know how people describe this stuff. So I've got a lot of cards that I can combo, which I really like. I kind of think of it as like, a sale or a coupon. Like, I want this dress, but it needs to be on sale and I need to have a coupon. I like that I can discount the cards. So if I play a prep, which is a 0 cost card, then my raiding party is only 1 mana instead of 3, and then I get a bunch of cards in my hand. So the idea, I guess, behind it is to get lots of cards in your hand. You play some pirates. You try to deal as much damage as you can in early, and then finish off with some burn in your deck. Which all of that, like, terminology, like burn in your deck, I never said the word tilted until like a week ago. There's like so much. There's so much. I didn't know. He would be like, oh, that's BM. I'm like, why are you talking about bowel movements? He's like, no, that's and these are real discussions in the Schmoopie household where this is what I think. So I didn't know what a GG was. I was like, what are you saying? He's like, good game. Come on, get with it.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, he wanted us to ask you if you had any traditions when you won a game.
It has now become a tradition because I'm usually with our little one when I'm playing, and I can't like scream to the next room, so I screenshot my kills, my kill picture, my kill shot, and then I send it to him, and it's just for him, like, just so he can see how I'm doing or who I faced, and then he's like, oh, you beat this or you did that, or like, because a lot of the time I'm trying to describe stuff to him, and again, I'm getting better at like looking at what kind of class I'm facing and what the card name was, because I'm like, the guy with the thing, and he's like, no, I have no idea what you're talking about. So, so I screenshot it and I send it to him, and I then I'd be like, that one.
That's great.
So that has been I guess we're calling it a tradition because I've been doing it for a while now. And I didn't know what ladder anxiety was either. I was just playing for fun, and I was like, oh, look at me. And then I got to Diamond 1, and I was like, oh my gosh, I might actually make Legend. And I like started spazzing out a little bit because he was like, oh, I'm gonna spectate you, and I was like, no.
No pressure, no pressure.
So I didn't know that was a real thing either until it happened to me, and then I was like, oh well, I guess I'm invested, guys. That's it. So
I'm curious how he came up with that deck, because when we had him on, he we've always known him as this like secret mage player, and that's what he plays, and so when he had mentioned that you had started playing, I was like, oh, secret mage? He's like, no, this rogue deck. I was like, what? Like, why? So I'm kind of curious how you all settled on that deck, but I'm just excited overall for this whole, this is such a great story. It's so wholesome. I love it.
Thank you. Putting that family brand on Hearthstone. I don't know. So we did talk about Secret Mage, and it definitely sounds like something I would like to play, especially because I started off playing with mages, and other taboo things I did where I would use fireballs really early, and he's like, no. And I was like, but why? Why are these rules here? I just want to play. And then I realized that the rules are there because that's the it's not necessarily a rule, but it's how to play better with the deck that you have. But Scimitar Rogue, I think he really came to that conclusion because I was playing for free, and it was a deck he could put together that we could make out of what I had. And I think he knew, I don't know, we've been together for 14 years. Maybe he just knew that I would understand that deck, because he said he's like, it's straightforward-ish, but there's still moving pieces and a lot of decisions to make, and you have to figure it out. And for some reason, I think my brain kind of just understands that deck, and I like the way it works. And I'm interested in doing other things too down the road, but I've definitely enjoyed playing it. And I know that's a big thing for him. He's like, you should have fun with whatever deck you're playing. If you're not having fun, you're missing the point. So I think that's how we got there, and we just I ran with it. I ran with it once he gave it to me. So that was it.
Nice.
So you've mentioned a few of the kind of social concepts that you've learned in Hearthstone, rope. You mentioned kind of offhand, and a ladder anxiety, BM, and tilt. What was kind of some of the what kind of some of the social concepts that you've learned, and how did you kind of acclimate to that new vocabulary and vernacular?
So some of it I got pretty easily. Like I said, I understand now what BM and GG is. I auto squelch people. At first, I was totally like, oh, I don't care. Make your little comments, whatever. Or you're hoping that they're not making them sarcastically, but you realize it just comes off that way. Even if they're trying to be nice, a lot of the time it's I queued into a game the other day, and the guy turn 1 said, well played. And I was like, I'm sorry, do you think you've won this?
I'll show you.
Yeah, and I beat him, and I took a screenshot and sent it to my husband. So,
nice.
It was just kind of those things where I was I didn't know, again, I didn't know I would care, because initially I was just la la la, I don't care, say what you want, whatever, it doesn't matter. I lost a game yesterday because they had changed the amount of mana I had to 1, and I had the kill shot with an Abyss, but in my mind, I had to prep my Abyss. So I didn't notice that I had 1 mana. I put a minion out to prep my Abyss, and then realized that I didn't have another mana to use it, so I lost. And I was probably the most tilted I've ever been, because I was like, can I take it back? And I couldn't. So I don't know, a lot of it. And then, it was funny, someone, they will probably know who they are, because I have I don't really accept people on and not to be mean, like I'm totally fine if people want to be friends on there, but like if I win and they request me, I usually don't add them.
Smart.
Very wise choice.
Yeah. Well, you know, Schmoopie Daddy has told me some things that people have sent him, and I'm just like, it's a game, okay.
Right.
But they had written like online. I don't know if it was in Discord or what. Like, I added her. I think she doesn't want to be my friend because she thinks I'm mad that she won. And then Schmoopie Daddy told me about it, and I was like, oh no, we can be friends. So I added them. But
nice.
yeah, there's like whole new world for me. Like none of this. Again, a lot of the games I played previously, like I play Mario by myself. I play The Sims by myself. This isn't something where you have this. I haven't experienced the community aspect of a game like this before, which I've enjoyed, but also learned a lot about how seriously people take some of these games. And they're not very nice sometimes.
Oh, yes. It you know, it's interesting, and it's kind of hit and miss. Sometimes, like, we've met a lot of friends, I think, through this game, and but some of the messages that you get after, like, an in-game ad can be really pretty nasty as well.
Straight up abhorrent. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I pick and choose. I
can't say I haven't experienced that. I'm sorry. So at least
I'm
like
glad.
I've had positive experiences, but I'm like weary, I guess, you know, from other tales.
I feel like when I top deck lethal and then I get the friend request, that's when I don't accept it. But if it was like a back and forth fun game and like it went a lot of turns, then I'll accept it, and the person be like, "Oh, that was a really great game," and we'll have a nice conversation about it. Or sometimes it's like, "Hey, I know you're that guy on Twitter, or you're on that podcast," and then we have a cool conversation about it. But like, you never know.
Yeah.
Always play the top decked lethal if you have options. By the way.
I wouldn't have known what that meant last month. Like if you had said that to me, I'd be like, what did you lethal? Like what? And now I know exactly what that means. And that's another reason I'm always trying to keep cards in my hand, and like, or sometimes I'm sitting there like praying that a wicked stab comes out, and it doesn't always. Or secret passage. I really enjoy my secret passage. Again, a lot of bang for your buck with that one. So yeah, it's I've definitely won some games that way, and I don't think they're very happy. Sometimes they like also again with the roping, like I didn't know that people would just like leave you, like they know you've won, so they're just gonna they're gonna make you wait. They're just gonna make you wait.
People take the game really seriously sometimes and get all upset, or people will like, you know, they know they've lost and then they'll just rope you like just to be rude. It's crazy.
Ain't nobody got time for that. Like I'm like, and that's how I literally like, I know no one can hear me, but I told you if like I start to rope somebody, I'm like, I'm sorry, I was doing something, like I wasn't trying to do that to you, because I'm often multitasking, which our brains don't really do well. So
you can always say oops.
Yeah,
I
one of the
could.
few times I emote is
I'm always
whenever
afraid that if I say that,
unintentionally
it's like oops, on her, you know, and like, and then that's how they're gonna take it, and then they're gonna get even more tilted. I don't know.
Right?
If they watch this, they'll know that if they face me, that I'm not trying to BM them. So.
You used to actually be able to say sorry, but they took that one away.
People were abusing it, I think, was the perception, was that, you know, they're ready to do lethal, and it was like, sorry, thank you, lethal. And it was like, hey, come on now. So mean. Hey, so Schmoopie Daddy wrote up a little something that I wanted to read for you because it was very nice, and was talking about kind of your play style and some qualities that he observed in you. And so I just want to read it to you because it was very nice, and I think that this was it was fun for us to read as well. So here's what he said. He says, my wife has picked up the game at an alarming speed despite having zero TCG experience, but the following qualities or things that she has innately that I see in top level players. She doesn't overtrade. Even in the apprentice level, she would ship minions face instead of trading down. I was always much more paranoid as a new player and cleared the board to be safe, a common mistake. She isn't afraid to use resources without getting full value for them. Sometimes she'll spend preparation on a scimitar, or sometimes she'll tempo out a Foxy Fraud because without ever hearing the word tempo, she understands the need for it. Lastly, she might not know the whole catalog of wild cards that you need to play around, but she has wonderful pattern recognition. She's always saying to me, oh, those guys do this by this turn. It took me a year and a half of playing and then 6 months of watching Raffle videos to even begin to think what cards I was playing around that my opponent might have in their hand. Whether she's hit legend by the time of the show or not, she has already completed the greatest climb I have ever seen. She went from 0 trading card game knowledge to the most degenerate format, Wild, in one of the most degenerate periods of its lifetime. And by the writing of this, got to at least 2 boss battles for legend, all with the 2x multiplier. I'm not even going to dignify my giving her a list as a caveat, because anyone can net deck anyone. She's done all of this largely on her own with minimal coaching and input from me, and I have no doubt that she's the future 11xer in the household. It has been so much fun having my life partner pick up my hobby in order to spend more time with me, and we've had so much fun having something new in common after being together since 2007. Watch out, world, I've awakened something, and I love her very much, but she will take your face.
That was really sweet.
Aw.
It's
nice.
not his. I mean, listen. You know, it means something to him because he is not like, we're not those people. We don't like write love letters on social media to each other or anything like that. So it definitely means a lot, and it's been really nice because we have been together for a really long time, and we've always shared commonalities with video games and TV shows or movies we like, or music. And obviously, our careers, we're both teachers, our children, but we don't have the same time to sit down and watch a movie. Or if we do, like, we're both ready to fall asleep 5 minutes in. So this has been nice because we can play separately, and it's something that I've seen him invest a lot of time in. So to be able to share it and for him to enjoy that, like, because sometimes you want like your own thing. I really like that he's enjoying it so much, and I didn't know I'd be good at it, so I'm having a lot of fun with it. But thanks, Schmoopie Daddy.
That is truly, truly very sweet. I love it. I love it so much. Well, let's move the show along a little bit and get into our weekly recap to see what we've been doing over the past week. Just whether it's in Hearthstone, in real life, just whatever's been going on. Nate, how are things going? What have you been up to?
Yeah, I mean, I'm so happy that it's Friday. I had this past week on vacation, actually. We were out at the coast, the Oregon coast, camping right on the beach, and that was a lot of fun. I haven't been on a real vacation in a long time, and so it was cool. It was pretty nice. So we were at the beach from Sunday to Thursday at the place called Cape Lookout, which is on the Oregon coast. It was a really nice beach, really kind of fine sand and like nice, like, I don't know, like I grew up in California and the beaches were always super crowded. And so being on a different state at the beach, like they were empty. It was crazy. It was just super cool. It was fun to kind of get away from everything a little bit. And so I didn't really have a lot of time to play. I had my iPad with me, but it was like something I do for a couple minutes at night before I went to sleep. But it was cool. So I didn't really play ranked, but I did all my daily quests, and I did play through the Illidan Book of Heroes, which was fun. I noticed a couple of cool things. So there was some alternate card art, which I thought was kind of fun. So I have up on the screen Twin Slice and Chaos Strike from the Demon Hunter cards, like same card but different artwork, which was interesting to me. I asked Dean about it in the AMA and he didn't respond, so I it is what it is. But I thought that was cool, and I was wondering, maybe that's something that we'll see in the future. I don't know. It was like, it's got to be confusing I did a double take because I saw the art and I was like, what is this card? I've never seen this before. And then I read it and I was like, oh, well, they put the wrong artwork on this card. I can't even imagine, like, this is like, a tiny percentile of what, must face as like a new player with all the different hero portraits is like, wait, what is this again? What am I looking at here? But I thought this was interesting. It was kind of fun. And then kind of a throwback when we did the Ashes of Outland lore episode with Goliath. I don't want to spoil anything, but there was one level in the Illidan Book of Heroes that we had talked through the story with Goliath. And so you're sitting here as Illidan and you've got, your three, legendary minions on your side. It was like it mirrored the story that Goliath had told us back in the Ashes of Outland lore episode. And so that was super fun. I don't want to spoil anything for anybody that hasn't heard it, but it was a lot of fun. If anybody watching or listening is interested in like the stories behind it, we've got all the lore episodes like separated on YouTube now to check out. But anyhow, that was just a lot of fun. And so I finally completed all of the Book of Heroes. I got my gold pack.
Yeah.
And so they fixed the bug, which was cool. The reward for completing all of the Book of Heroes is a golden standard pack. I got the equivalent of 40 dust, but golden. It was a bunch of golden, but it was fine. And I finally, we'll talk about it later in the show, but like now that the nerfs went live, I finally got around to dusting all of my duplicates, except the Warlock quest, because I still think it's going to get hit later. But anyhow, so I made some questionable crafting decisions. I now am the proud owner of 2 golden crags, and
You've joined the Crag Club.
yeah, and I did both. I blinged out my Pirate Warrior deck and a couple different versions of it. And so I'm still sitting on a bunch of dust, and then I crafted gold Jace because I like the card a lot. It's a lot more fun than I thought it was going to be. I don't think it's probably actually that good, but I really like it. And so that has kind of been what I'm up to. I just got back from camping yesterday, and then I worked all day today. And I love to try to leave a little bit early on Fridays, and it just doesn't happen much anymore. And so it's, but I'm happy that it's the weekend and it's time to kind of get back into the swing of things. And so, yeah, no, I'm just excited to be here hanging out with everybody. So, Sheep, what have you been up to this week?
Yeah, this week has been a pretty exhausting one here in the city of Electric Sheep. So typically I'm like, work is busy, but this week was more so than normal. A little peek behind the curtain. One of my coworkers was out Wednesday through Friday, and I'm her backup. And she didn't process a few things for a few months.
A few months, plural, that kept people from getting paid and hired.
Whoa.
So people were pretty upset. There was a lot of yelling, and I got to try and be the solution and, be yelled at a lot. So it was a long week. And if I had forgotten stuff, then like, okay, fair enough, right? But I'm just trying to pick up the pieces. So it was especially kind of demoralizing. So if I'm a little bit less of a happy-go-lucky sheep than I normally am, apologies, but we'll be back whenever she's back next week, thankfully.
I think you've earned it.
I appreciate that very much, friend. In Hearthstone, on the other hand, I played a fair amount of both Wild and Standard this week. Even a little bit of Battlegrounds.
Battlegrounds is fun. It is fun.
Mm-hmm. I got the cute bundle of skins because it was a tough week in retail therapy, right? And the adorable bartender Fizzy, they are so stinking cute and so just like, you got this, like, yay, don't forget to hydrate. Like, it's adorable. And,
I haven't used
so
them yet.
supportive. Oh my gosh, it makes me really happy. So I played more Battlegrounds than normal because Fizzy is my friend.
Nice.
I also actually finished up the Illidan Book of Heroes as well, which was also my last one. And I cracked open my pack. I didn't save it for the mini set, unfortunately, but I did get like a golden Wailing Vapor, which was pretty cool because I play that deck in standard. But not so much a wild card, that one, but really fun. Last week on the show, I was like, hey, I know Studio Ghibli is actually a thing that's on like the HBO stuff. Maybe I'll dive into those. And
Oh,
I
yeah, what did you
definitely
watch?
did. So I watched My Neighbor Totoro to start with because that's like the classic. I watched Spirited Away, Princess Mononoke, and Nausicaa of the Valley Wind.
You've been busy. Wow, okay.
It was a lot of them, and it was honestly they're way sadder than I thought that they would be.
Have you
If
watched
that makes any sense.
Have you watched Howl's Moving Castle yet?
No, not yet. It's on my list.
It's okay, it's really good, and I don't know if I don't know how much you read, but like the book that there's 3 books. It's not just one, but there's 3 books. And it's so good. It's so good. I highly recommend it. Like the movie is fun, but it doesn't tell like the whole story. If you read the book, it's just incredible. Really, really, really great story. It really goes into a lot of the background of the characters, and then as it turns out, there's like 2 sequels to it. It's great. It's great. I highly recommend it. If you have Audible, the audiobook version is very good as well.
Excellent. I do have Audible, so I will probably hit that up. Gosh, I'm not sure if I should do that before or after I actually watch Howl's Moving Castle.
I honestly, I would watch it first, because if you read the book first and then you watch it, you're going to be disappointed because it leaves out quite a bit. But it was really great. Yeah, I love it. Good times.
Cool. Well, I'll definitely have to watch that one first and then dive into the book, be it audio or I was about to say video, but not really video. With words and text. And Slight swept me in my wild THL match tonight. Back over to Hearthstone. So good games to Slight. It definitely earned those wins. And last week I actually won. Since that one was on Saturday. So I didn't mention it on the show last week, but I beat Oddlaw 3-2.
Oh, congrats.
Which was a very tough matchup, like 3-2, 5 games. Won that one in the very end. Oddlaw played well. It was just felt really good. So that was kind of my competitive side busting out right there.
He's very good. Yeah, I'll give him that. He's very, very good.
Mm-hmm.
So hey, that's cool.
Yeah, that's kind of been my weekend review here in the city of Electric Sheep. How have things been in the Schmoopie family household?
They've been pretty good. So like normal things, just taking care of 2 kids and food shopping and cooking and cleaning. I mentioned earlier that we have an event for our daughter on Sunday, but with some impending weather, we don't know if that's going to happen, but I've been prepping just the same. I feel like the house is never like you clean and then it's still not clean, so you got to clean it again, and it's just like this repeat thing, especially with children. Like I find fingerprints, but I'm like, how did this get here, and what did you do? So I'm like taking magic erasers to our walls. It's good.
We have a whole stockpile of those. It's great.
Yeah, like
big mood to all of that.
I would say, like, I teach like environmental science too, so like I try to use, like I'll use like vinegar to clean the microwave and stuff, but like when you got kids, you need the magic erasers on your walls. Like it's just necessary. And then game wise, I've really been just grinding this this deck to try to get to Legend because I didn't know I wanted to. And then I got really close and then I really wanted to. And I've been yo-yoing between Diamond 5 and Diamond 1 for the week. And I've done that a few times. And I am understanding now the frustration people feel when this happens to them. And other than that, I haven't really, like, there's so much more to still explore. And I know that, like, there's, again, I haven't played the other classes. I haven't built other decks. Like, I feel like this has definitely got, for me, being a newer player, like, there's just so much left to do. Eventually, one day. But right now, this is my focus. I'm trying to get there. And if I do, great. If I don't, I understand that that's pretty normal. But I'm gonna try. I really wanted to do it before tonight so that I could come on here and be like, look what I did.
No, for
but
real.
I'm proud
like
of my accomplishments, you know.
So you hit the final boss for Legend twice already? Like, you've been playing less than a month? That's incredible. Like, that's just blew my mind. I think
if you came on saying that you got gold 1 in your first month, I would have been, with the 2 stars, I would have been amazed, right? Like,
yeah.
Yeah,
I might have said that to Schmoopie Daddy because he was like, hey, you know, play for fun. Like, you'll probably get silver. Maybe you'll hit gold. And I was like, I'm in diamond. Like, what?
That's awesome.
And he was like, really? And I was like, yeah, I am. What? Like, it's hard? And then I got stuck. And what was even better was as I got stuck, you know, I hit diamond 5. And then I was like, oh, this got way harder. What is a Taxes Paladin? Why are they messing with the amount of mana of my cards? I hate this. Oh, you asked me if I hated something. I hate Taxes Paladin. I'm not a huge fan of Murloc Shamans, and there's one other. There's one other I really don't like right now. Oh, Questline Druids. Bane of my existence besides pulling patches. But they're like impossible to beat with my deck because I run out of cards.
Yeah, all the armor makes it really tough.
Or not the hard way, unfortunately. But what was my point? I had one, I swear. But those things have been really tough. And I didn't so I got there and it slowed down. And I actually watched Schmoopie Daddy's episode, and it was so funny because he kept telling me, like, oh, this is totally normal. And I'm like, whatever, like, you're just saying that because you're my husband and you're being nice to me. And in his episode from November, he was talking about how, like, half your climb is up to Diamond 5, and the other half is from Diamond 5 to Legend. And I was like, oh, okay, you're not just being nice to me. This is recorded months before and had nothing to do with me. And then he talked about, like, trying not to get tilted and enjoying your gameplay. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, okay, I'm good now. I'm good. So it was kind of fun to watch that back and, you know, do a little homework.
Oh,
and,
that's fun.
Yeah, it was good because I hadn't watched it to that point because I knew he was excited about coming on and he was really, like, just, you know, jazzed about it. And I had no idea. I was like, that's great, honey, because I had no idea what he was talking about. Like, all of it. If I had watched it a month ago, I was like, okay, I don't know what you're saying.
Yeah.
Different language. And I'm glad I understand the language a little bit more now. So that was my week. Momming and SchmoopieMomming. That was that.
Nice.
That's great. I love it. As for myself, the week started off pretty good. Right after last week's show, Nate and I did some co-op in Diablo 2.
Oh man, that was so fun. I'm sad that the closed beta is over.
Yeah, I know. Open is now open right now. So you could totally play again after the show if you wanted to.
Do we have to start over, or do we get to use our same
You have
beta?
to start over, yeah.
Oh, rip. All right.
I know, right?
Oh, no.
But yeah, so we started off, and basically we, instead of, like, when I played Diablo 2, a lot of the time I just rushed my way through, right? Because you're trying to rank up as fast as possible. But we only have 2 acts. So Nate and I explored, like, every single corner. And, like, I don't even know if we got Deckard Cain yet, and we were already level 14. Like, we literally ran to, like, every corner of the map, and, like, we're just killing absolutely everything. And it was just a blast exploring.
It was fun.
been there, done that, but at the same time, it was just doing it again. And playing with a friend is just so much better than playing alone or with some random person on the internet.
Oh, 100%.
Right?
Yeah.
Because then because you went on your trip, and then so I'm like, I want to keep playing. I started over, and I just made a game saying like Act 1 walking, and people just jumped in that were already level 25 when you're level 1, and they just would go and they'd complete all the quests in the act while you're like running around outside. It's like, well, thanks. You just did that for me, and Dariel's dead. Like, just go and do everything. Then you almost get like rushed by accident, but then I already had my cube by like level 7, which was kind of cool. So then I started like actually collecting jewels and crafting and doing all that sort of fun stuff. But a little character on the screen, that's the one I made with Nate. We didn't get too far, but I am super stoked for the full release.
Oh, when it comes out, like for real, I'm a little reluctant to even play the beta because you have to keep starting over again. But I swear, like when it's released, it would be so much fun to get a group together to play it.
Yeah, I wanted like day 1 hit the ladder, like off the bat. Season 1.
I like it.
See how far we can go. That would be great. But that was super fun. So I basically wasted away my weekend playing a game where they're going to delete your character at the end of the weekend. So little bit sad there. And then my son was away on a trip for quite a while, and so he got back on Monday, and we did a lot of family time over the week. And so I didn't have much time for gaming at all, like in general. So we just hung out as a family, just did things together, barbecuing and whatnot. And but I made sure that I kept on top of my quests. Even after everyone was going to bed, I had to be like, okay, gotta log on. Need to do quests on 3 servers. Gotta keep...
Yeah, that's rough.
Got to keep those going. So I made sure I didn't burn any quests. But this weekend, I'm super happy to hop back in. And what I really need to do is I actually haven't ranked up on EU or Asia really at all this month. And it's the 20th. So I've got to climb because I got to keep that star bonus, you know. So it's going to be some climbing on the weekend, starting probably either after the show or tomorrow morning. I gotta make sure I keep it. But as for books, I finished Salem's Lot that we were talking about last week, and I loved it. I thought it was a great book. I love Stephen King. I'm not going to put it at the top of my Stephen King books. It's one of his earlier works, so I think maybe he was still maybe finding himself at the time. So it's a little down my ranks, but I still think it was excellent. I really, really enjoyed it. And I have been recommended by my friends here to finally begin the Dark Tower series. So I have begun with the first book, The Gunslinger. And it's a lot shorter than most of the other Stephen King books that I've read. So I'm literally like a third of the way through already. And very, very much enjoying it. Everything is so mysterious. Like, I don't even know what's going on really in the world in this book. Like, I know about this main character, and I know about the bad guy a little bit. Maybe the character I'm following is the bad guy. I don't even know what's going on. But I'm really, really enjoying it so far. It's very well written. And how many books are there, Sheep, in this series?
There's 7.5. There's kind of like a side one that you don't need to read. It came out well after the fact. But the Gunslinger in particular has probably one of, if not the most iconic first lines in a book, period. The man in black fled across the desert, and the gunslinger followed. Like, it just sets the scene so perfectly.
Yeah.
Oh, love it.
You know what? You're right.
The tricky piece, like, I think I only finished the first one. I have them all. but they use all these like made up like gunslinger slang words that I had such a hard time reading them. Not like, gosh, I can't even think of what they are off the top of my head. Sheep, you probably know, but like they use like instead of like Mr. and Mrs., they use different things, and they use
like sigh and stuff like that.
Yeah, and like I was like, what is going on right now? Like I struggled with it pretty hard. And they I watched the movie, which was not very much like the book, if I recall correctly.
I never watched the film. I heard it was, despite Idris Elba being amazing,
He's great.
I heard that the rest of the movie was. I haven't seen it, so I can't confirm, but I heard it was trash.
I can confirm. Yeah,
I've heard similar things, but so far the writing in the book is absolutely amazing. So definitely enjoying it so far. It's probably not going to take me too much longer to finish the book and continue on in the series. I really enjoy Stephen King's writings, so I'm going to continue with that. And this weekend, I'm probably going to play Diablo and Hearthstone the entire time. So there you go. That's been my week, except for the fact that now I'm here and I'm enjoying all of your guys' company. And I'm looking forward to what Sheep has to tell us about the listener series.
Cool. Yeah, so the listener series is coming right up. So the signups have closed for the listener series. And we will put the spreadsheet up with like all the challenges and whatnot up tomorrow. So be prepared. The first challenge, well, we'll go ahead and give you a little peek behind the curtain there as well. The first challenge will be Pauper Week. So all common and rare or basic cards, but no epics or legendaries, even from the core set. So in the core set, no epics or legendaries, even though they were free. So basic, common, rares. Rare.
Rare.
So expect the full sheet to go up tomorrow. We'll have the whatchamacallit, roster of registered peeps of folks. We'll have the challenges up. We'll have everything. But Pauper is how we're starting it off, starting from the bottom. And at the end of it, we'll be there.
I think budget week for week one makes sense. Like it's a good introduction to things, and that ensures that everybody's got some cards that they can play. I think we are trying to be as inclusive as possible, and so when we went through, we got a bunch of really fun submissions for challenges from folks, and have been going through them and just wanting to make sure that some of the feedback that we got was like, hey, when the more restrictive sometimes is better, so that you don't get stuck playing a bunch of meta decks, but at the same time like not wanting to be so restrictive that people don't have the cards. There was a suggestion that we got that I loved. It was like, you have to put both Yogg Sarans in your deck, and you can't win until at least one Yogg has like done all the random stuff. Like, well, that's cool, but I imagine that there's people that may want to play that don't have those cards, and as much as I like the idea, we don't want to exclude anybody. So
yeah, that'd be 3,200 dust, which is not an insignificant investment.
No, especially for a card that's more of a meme. Like, I don't know. I forget. It's easy to forget because we have all been playing this game for such a long time. But I started like an EU account with like 0 cards, and now I'm in that same thing. I dusted like everything to create Odd Paladin, and I've got the one deck that I can play there, and that's it. And like not spending any more money. Like if someone told me you got to craft 2 Yoggs just to participate in this series, well, like nope, I'm out of here. I'm sorry. And so it sounds cool, but trying to be budget friendly as well. So, anyways. So we will have that information posted tomorrow. And yeah, very excited to get that started though.
Excitement abounds. Can't wait to dive into season 3 of the Listener series. So, starting up next week, and we can't wait to tell you more about how it's progressing then. So that's it for the Listener series. Hydra, what's been going on in Hearthstone news this week?
Wait. Let me interrupt super quick. Sorry, because I forgot to put it in the show notes, but we have a new theme song for the show.
Yeah, we do.
And
That's
so
right.
it's not like I don't even know where to put it, but like we've been listening to different versions of the audio all week, and I'm so excited because it turned out way better than I thought that it ever could turn out. And so the intro that we've been using for the show for ages was just something that we found on YouTube, and some guy made some techno remix of the Hearthstone theme song, and Craig at the time had like DM'd this person, how I don't even know, and said like, hey, can we use this song for our show? And the guy said, yeah, go for it, but oh yeah, if you can give me credit for it or like link to my channel. We said, yeah, sure. So we've always done that, and 74 episodes later, we have a legit like our own song. And so if you're watching this live, you have not heard it yet, but when the show comes out, it will be like a snippet on the end, and I'll put the full version at the tail end of the show. So I'm excited for that. I don't want to spoil it, but it's wild. It's great. And our audio engineer friend over in Canada did an absolutely wonderful job on it. So big shout out also to ShadeSwiper, who is just incredibly talented musician, audio engineer, whatever you want to call it, but she's amazing and did a great job. So
yeah, ShadeSwiper is incredible. We're all a huge fan of hers over here. And once you've heard the song, you will be too. So check her out.
yeah.
All right. Well, let's move into the news. We have a few things to talk about. First, if anybody likes to play Battlegrounds, Sheep was talking about this earlier. There are bundles where you can get some cool new skins. They're both for $20 USD. The first one, the Battlegrounds bundle, Guardians of Azeroth, which looks pretty cool. The one that I'm kind of looking at is the one after it, which to me, this seems where I would spend my money. This is Beauties and Cuties. So if you love all the cute little cards or hero portraits or just the Hearthstone art in general, that's totally where you can go. Or you can get the more serious looking stuff with the Guardians of Azeroth. All the art to me looks really amazing. I haven't taken the plunge on these yet, but Sheep, you said you've grabbed at least one of these, right?
Yeah, I have. So I haven't gotten a chance to play with any of the heroes that were part of it, but Fizzy is definitely my bartender now, and she's so supportive and so encouraging, and I'm a huge fan of theirs now.
Yeah, Fizzy looks pretty awesome.
They're so expensive. That's my only complaint. Like, I love the artwork. They're so great. They're so expensive. And like, of course I bought them. But like
if they didn't come with a bartender, then I would feel buyer's remorse for sure. But the fact that they come with a bartender that has the voice lines and of course the art that you see the entire game, regardless of which like hero you queue up with, that's a really well played like execution of the whole like archetype sale. You know what I'm trying to get at.
yeah.
I mean, like, if you look at it this way, we've paid $10 for one portrait, right? Like many
guilty.
times. So because we play constructed, right? And so for anyone who plays BGs, they can get 7 portraits and a bartender for $20. I mean, you're not always going to land on one of them, which is unfortunate, but I mean, it is, if you compare it to Constructed, when we paid $10 for one, it's a good deal when you look at it that way, right? So
I guess
if I played a lot more BGs, I feel like I would be all over it. But I basically play Battlegrounds when either like we just as like a group decide we're gonna have like a fun game on the weekend or whatever, or if I literally do 1,500 damage in Battlegrounds or get a top 4 quest.
I do enjoy it, and in the Discord, sometimes we'll get a group together and play, and it's fun. I know a lot, like Ben and Jordan and stuff. And people will play sometimes, and so if anyone watching or listening ever wants to get a group together, hit us up, because I would play for sure. SchmoopieMommy, have you tried this mode out yet? Did you play Battlegrounds at all?
I played for an achievement once, or no, a daily quest or a weekly quest. It was something like that. So I did like once or twice, just because I was trying to, get as many cards as I could. So I try to do those. So yes, technically.
Was it something that you enjoyed, or just like, let's get this over with to do my quest?
I feel like I just did it to do my quest, and like again, like I think it was early enough on that like I had no idea what was happening, and I just did it, and that was it. So like I don't even have a coherent like recollection of what that was. There was this like whole sleep deprivation thing in my life, so
yeah, it's just a little, yeah.
Speaking of sleep deprivation, oh sorry.
No, my fault. I've tried a couple of the other modes that are there, but like I said once, and it was funny too because Schmoopie Daddy was like, "Oh, you need to unlock Wild," and I was like, "Well, how do I do that?" So he like sent me the thing that I had to do to unlock Wild, and I was like, "Yeah, okay, I'll get to that." And like I didn't do it for like a week, and he was like, "Did you do it yet? Did you do it? Did you?" And then once I started playing Wild, that's where my attention's been. So I've been trying to complete my daily and weekly stuff, but other than that, I've just been there.
Wise choice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. BG's is definitely.
I only have so much. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No worries. BG's is definitely I don't know how much longer I'm going to be up, so I'm going to start this. And honestly, I've lost a lot of MMR because I start a game and fall asleep with the phone right there. So like I keep on getting like, I play BG's casually. So like up to like 6K, and then I drop because I start while I'm falling asleep, and I fall asleep, rinse and repeat. I should play AFK because that is what I am.
Can you I haven't fallen asleep playing BGs, but can you get booted like you can in Constructed for not making your turn?
I
don't
know.
think so. I heard that people would AFK Battlegrounds to just farm experience.
Yeah, because that's
for the rewards track. Like if you don't care,
smart.
If you don't care about your MMR or your ranking or whatever, you just keep starting BG games and then walk away.
So that's what Sheep is doing. He's starting a game and going to sleep. I'm on to you, Sheep.
It wasn't intentional, but I'll take the experience.
I'll tell you what I enjoy, because like I've been like camping in Wild because the meta has been really rough, and I'm still sitting like right around 200 legend and not really wanting to mess around with it. So I've been playing a bunch of standard and a bunch of Battlegrounds and a bunch of solo stuff. And but what I love about it, especially Battlegrounds, is like my casual mode where I don't really care about my rank. I just go to have fun. And so I'll get on the iPad and boot up like Netflix or Hulu or whatever, and then do like the little picture-in-picture and have like a movie going in the upper left corner, and then play Battlegrounds. And then I can do that while I'm like laying in bed or taking a bath or doing whatever, and not really care about it so much. And it's good for kind of relaxing.
That is why I never play Daryl, and why I never do like APM Pirates, because I play on mobile and tablet, and the the animations slow down for those way more than PC. So I feel you on that.
Yeah. All right, well, we got some other nerfs news to talk about.
Spoiler. Yeah, we definitely have more news in the form of nerfs. Before we get into exactly what they are, I'm going to read the dev comment. These nerfs already are live now. The dev comment is: after 2 weeks of monitoring the rapidly evolving United in Stormwind launch metagame, we're making a few balance changes to slow down the speed of the game by a turn or two. Overall, this translates to two things: limiting the efficiency at which combo decks can assemble the pieces they need to win, and reducing the burst damage that board-based decks have access to from hand. We hope that these changes will give a bit more room for slower strategies to find success in this meta. And we'll continue to keep an eye on the live game to see if any further changes are needed. So, as I said, these nerfs are live. They went live on Tuesday. And let's just jump right into them. Our first one is one that I feel like everyone's been asking for a long time, basically since its incarnation. The very first one is Mage's Incanter's Flow. So Incanter's Flow has gone from 2 mana up to 3 mana. The text remains the same at reduce the cost of spells in your deck by 1. So this will still have the exact same effect, but it is now coming a turn later. How do we feel that this is going to affect Mage in Wild? Are we still going to be running this?
I mean, it's a good card. You really want to play it on 2.
Yeah.
But, I mean, what happens if you draw it later in the game? Like, would you still play it? I don't know. Yeah. I mean, it's a good card. I don't know. I assume it still sees play in Standard. I'm not sure. I think like Mozaki's got hit pretty hard because now it's lost Incanter's Flow and it's lost Refreshing Springwater. And so, I mean, we've been predicting that this card was going to get nerfed for months now. And so I'm not surprised. I think it's still probably a good card, but it hurts the deck a lot.
Yeah, in Standard, it does pretty much what the dev comment said. Like it keeps the questline mage still viable, but it slows it down a little bit, right? In Wild though, our decks are so fast that it just, I'm not gonna say kills it, but
it hurt it pretty bad. Yeah,
tis but a flesh wound. It's a pretty deep flesh wound.
Yeah. Hey, one thing real quick. For anybody who is listening to the audio version, we do have graphics up on the screen while we're talking about these. And so I always recommend either watching live or watching the YouTube version, just because you can actually see the cards, you can see the changes and stuff. And I did want to say a big thank you to our friend Imic, who provided the images here. Did a great job. And really appreciate the help. So thank you,
Imic OP.
Yeah, appreciate that. SchmoopieMommy, have you encountered this card and like, have you raged about it yet? Because that's what we always do. It's like, no, why they always play it on 2? It's not fair.
Especially as aggro. I hate seeing Incanter's Flow as aggro.
Yeah, I haven't faced a ton of mages, but I did encounter this card, and I was like, I played a little mage in Standard before I moved over to Wild, so I was like, oh, this is great because it reduces the cost of your spells. But, right, I said that correctly. But I most of the time I do fine against a mage, except I don't remember. Did you say like Mizaki? Is that how you say that? That one destroyed me once. Like I played maybe once or twice, but I've seen so many Pirate Warriors and Warlocks that I haven't seen a lot of the mage, but I have encountered the card. I don't have enough experience to be sure, but I would definitely think it would slow them down if they can't get that out right away. Because that was one of the games, the first time I encountered it, where I was like, how did I die? And how did they just play like 50 cards at once? And I was really confused. That's probably my best description.
It feels bad.
That is the completely appropriate reaction too. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Confusion is a common one here. So
That's great. Well, it feels bad when it happens to you, and I don't know. That happened to me last week in THL. Sick Lad was playing the Mozaki deck, and he comboed off on turn 5, and it was like, what? So turn 1 was coin Incanter's Flow, turn 2 was Incanter's Flow, and it was like, what? Like, I thought I had won, like I had lethal in hand, and on turn 5 he played Mozaki, and then he biscuited out a Sorcerer's Apprentice, and I was like, oh, I've won this. He's started to combo too early. He's not going to be able to do this. Like, he's baiting me. And then he killed me. And I was like, what just happened? Like, I wasn't even mad. I was just so shocked.
If you think you're safe now, you're only safe until rotation, because there's a chance that they could revert it. I don't know. Like, they have been reverting cards when they're rotating into wild, so
it could go back.
Yeah.
that was something else I learned, was to be suspicious when they're not doing a lot, and I'm like waiting for the storm, because again, that was one of those ones where I was like, they're not doing a lot. Like, are you a bot? Are you like, what's happening? And then it like exploded, and they took me from like full health to 0, and I was like, that's a thing? Like, what? Okay.
Yeah.
And again, like Schmoopie Daddy's like, oh yeah, that's blah blah blah. I'm like, okay, learn something new. So I haven't encountered it a lot, but it definitely, I'm happy it's slower. That's good.
Yeah, I do think that it probably will be reverted when it rotates. So Incanter's Flow came out with Ashes of Outland, which was the very first expansion of last standard year, right?
Right.
So since it lasted so long in standard without getting nerfed, they've done this thing relatively recently. When things rotate, they unnerf them. Since this one lasted so long, I imagine that this will see the unnerf, not hammer, but axe.
Whatever you want to call it. I wouldn't be surprised at all. Yeah. And, yeah, I wouldn't be too surprised. I'm always anxious to get a little shake up. And so, yeah, we'll see. I wouldn't be surprised if this one got reverted. When is rotation anyways? I always get confused, like, as a wild player predominantly, rotation always surprises me. I'm just never ready for it.
Like March-ish,
Okay.
if I recall correctly.
We just had it not too long ago, so
Yeah, with the last expansion. Not the one that we just had, not United in Stormwind, but the previous one.
The Forged and the
Fortune of the
Barons.
Barons. Yeah.
Oh, I guess you're right. I don't.
The
Time
standard is at a 5
This
set
is-
meta right now.
This has been such a weird year with like the pandemic and everything, that like time has just all melded together, and it's just been like a big long, I don't even know what to call it. Like it's been an experience, that's for sure.
definitely
Can
yes.
confirm.
All right, well,
let's move on to our next one. So our next card that got the nerf hammer is the Demon Hunter Legendary Il'gynoth. So it is changing in a couple of different ways. It now, instead of costing 4, it is moving to 6 cost, and its health and attack are changing. So instead of a 2/6, it is now going to be a 4/8. So it is being nerfed in the mana cost wise by being 2 more. And I feel like Blizzard was like, oh, okay, well, I mean, that's really, really bad. So maybe let's give it a bigger butt and a little more attack to make it feel a little better. But I feel like our standard or Wild, if you are playing this deck in Wild, Ben from work was, right? OTK Demon Hunter is going to have a bit of a rough time.
That's
Now
the goal. I
having-
mean, I think they're just trying to slow it down, and it was never oppressive in Wild to begin with, so I don't really care about this.
Oh, yeah. In Standard, it was pretty oppressive, but in Wild, yeah, we weren't seeing this already. And in Standard, I thought it was going to basically kill the deck, but it just changed its play pattern ever so slightly. I've seen a few lists, at least, that are running Glide, so that once they complete their quest line, then they can put Il'gynoth back in their deck so that they draw it, and it, instead of costing 6, costs 4, like it should.
Yeah.
So this is another one that I can see being unnerfed when it rotates. And while Standard was pretty oppressed by OTK Demon Hunter, we already weren't. So I don't think this will be an issue if and when they unnerf, drop the unnerf mallet on Il'gynoth. That whenever it rotates our way, we'll be fine with it.
Yeah, whatever. This is a, it's a standard.
SchmoopieMommy, did you ever come across this at all in your month of playing Wild?
I don't think I have.
Okay,
I
I think you would.
recognize it.
I think you would remember because you go from being fine to dead really quick.
That's happened to me a bunch, and it's usually kind of blurry. But I don't recognize that card, so I'm gonna say no.
Yeah, that completely tracks for our format for sure.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's move on to our next one. A card that has already seen a nerf already. So Dark Glare got hit again.
Yep.
So Dark Glare is going from 2 mana 2/3 back to its original stats. It is going to be 3 mana 3/4. So it is going up by a mana, and it is going up in stats by 1, both on its attack and health. And yeah, so this one is a little controversial. I know that some people have completely cut it in their lists, and other people are still running it and saying that it's completely fine. So what do you guys think?
I crafted it in gold because I was able to dust the originals for full refund cost and
Yeah.
and then get these. So I didn't remember it being a 3/4. That's funny. I didn't recall that. The card is just good, and I don't know. I mean, Warlock has been insane, and I've tried to just avoid it because it's so oppressive. But like, I don't know. I don't want to. We'll get there later, but I still think that the class as a whole might get hit. I don't know. This slows it down by a turn is really what happens, and I don't think that it really matters because the new quest line is so good that it doesn't make that big of a difference. And sure, include this card, don't include this card, like the deck is still bonkers. So
You can also discount it and play it for like 1 mana anyway.
right.
Yeah.
So
for context, back in the day, Dark Glare was a 3 mana 3/4, but after your hero took a damage, it refreshed 2 mana crystals.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever they nerfed it, they halved it to only 1 mana crystal, but made it a 2 mana 2/3. And now they kept it with the 1 mana crystal, but bumped its stats and cost back up to 3 mana 3/4. And Dark Glare, at the very least recently, hasn't been the big culprit. Recently being since the United in Stormwind dropped, right? The quest line has been what's been oppressive for us because of gestures broadly at all of the ways that we can damage our own hero in Wild.
There's so many. Yeah.
Yeah. So I've still seen Dark Glare run in a lot of those questline lists, and I've seen it cut in some others. It seems like a fine nerf, but Dark Glare surprisingly was no longer the culprit for our Warlock woes in our format. So
I feel
this
like-
hasn't changed a whole lot.
Yeah, whether you're running it or you're not, that deck is still winning. Like, they're still great whether it's in the deck or whether it's not. That quest line is just, it's insane how fast it can happen. It really is. And like some of them, they're not even running giants in some of the lists. They're just gone. They don't care at all. It's literally just about getting that damage, completing the quest, and just doing all that damage to themselves, which is actually coming at you. And if it's in fatigue, well, you're screwed. Because then they could just, it's pretty insane.
I like to call that Warlock Fight Club Warlock.
Yeah, I have mixed feelings on this one. Honestly, I don't feel like it even matters. And people started exploring like the different version of the questline Warlock. Like, okay, fine, we're just gonna OTK, like we're just gonna mill all of our cards and you take all the damage and we don't even need this card anymore. And maybe you run it and maybe you don't. And it's like, I mean, I don't know, the new version with Cataclysm and all the discard mechanics, like what? And watching Goku do it on turn 5 yesterday was like, it's insane. I briefly read through Dean's AMA that was going on at the start of the show, and it looks like Warlock might get hit again because he recognized that it's the power level is too high right now. So we'll see. Anyways,
especially in our format.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. In particular, I think. I mean, yeah, he was talking about Wild in particular. There was a lot of comments about it tonight. So, it's definitely tilting because it feels uninteractive, right? I mean, I think it's just okay, you sit here and you try to win and you can't really do anything, and they just play all their cards and they. I mean, it's almost like. Gosh, I don't even know how to describe it. It's pretty degenerate, though.
Yeah, for sure. Well, let's move on to our next card. This isn't something that we quite often see in our format, but Battleground Battlemaster is receiving a nerf from a 5-mana 5/5 with the text adjacent minions have Wind Fury to 6 mana. So it is going up 1 mana. To 6 mana, 5/5 adjacent minions have Wind Fury. So, not exactly something we're super concerned about. What is turn 6?
I saw people experimenting with it in even Warlock. I mean, it's kind of fringe, right? And if it ever, I think it can go in even lock. I think people were talking about, we'll get to it in a minute, but maybe we'll see it like even Paladin come back. Maybe.
I want it to, but
with the way things are at the moment, it's not going to happen. But at some point, maybe. I mean, but this was. I think it was just. It was kind of a feels bad in Standard where you play Conviction and buff two like little tiny cards that are huge now, and now you drop this and they both have Wind Fury and then you just die from nowhere. That's a Wild. That's what I expect in Wild, but not in Standard. And so that's why I got hit. I mean, pretty much, right?
Yeah.
So,
I mean, this time a week ago, I was running both Battleground Battlemaster and Conviction in my Odd Paladin, and I beat Oddlaw with Odd Paladin. So not just Odd Paladin, right? But it was strong even in our format back then, a week ago, specifically because it was odd cost, and specifically because of Conviction also being odd cost and both of them being able to be played in Odd Paladin. But outside of that, like, I guess some of the Questline Warlock would sometimes run this whenever they have giants and can do a whole lot of burst damage, but yeah, the big change for this, because I think those Questline Warlocks are still running Battleground Battlemaster, but we can't run it in Odd Paladin anymore.
Yeah.
So.
Whatever. Yeah, this is for Standard, really.
For sure.
Okay, well, our next card is Kolkar Pack Runner. So Kolkar Pack Runner has been kind of one of the front runners in the aggro face hunter deck. It just allows you to flood the board and just steal the board from the very beginning of the game, and seemed unfair. So it is going from a 2-mana 2/3 to a 3-mana 3/4. So increasing the cost, but at the same time, you get that attack and you get that health, trying to keep it a little fair. Now, this is now an odd cost card, so got to look at it that way. But do you think we're going to see any play with this at 3 mana sheet?
I don't, specifically because whenever right now we're running odd and or specifically odd quest line hunter, yeah, that does run a lot of spells, but typically it runs almost exclusively spells except for Baku, right? Because you want to maximize your potential to actually deal damage with spells so that you can complete your quest line, so that you can do Raza hunter things.
Yeah.
Right? We weren't seeing a whole lot of Kolkar pack runner before, and even with the nerf, which could theoretically be a buff in our format, since it's now odd, we weren't seeing this in Wild already, and I don't think we will now. This was very, very, very good in Standard, and it's still okay in Standard. Like it was a nudge, and it was an effective nudge, but yeah, this was not really impactful for our format very much at all, in my opinion. What do you think, bud?
Yeah, I do like that it's the odd cost because, you know, like we are running all those spells. Let's pretend that we are going to put it in the odd quest hunter. Like it would allow you to flood the board and whatnot, but it's right. Like, because you're playing so many now, you can flood the board with these hyenas that have rush, and you could use those rush minions to clear off whatever your opponent may have. Right. So a bit of a dual purpose there, just because of the fact that you're going to be able to flood the board, you can still do some clearing, and I think that could be cool. Whether like it's slow seems to be the problem, because now you're spending 3 mana when you could just be doing those spells and completing your quest.
Yeah.
Right. So because you want to complete that quest as soon as possible, like you really do, because you want to just end up Razaing the face over and over and over again. So it could be counterproductive, but at the same time, it could really help in a bit of a more board-based aggro meta when you want to clear stuff off. So I don't know if we're going to see it, but most likely not. I will say most of these nerfs, I don't see any rogue ones, so that's really good for you, SchmoopieMommy.
My deck was unaffected, and I was pretty happy about that. I did want to, I don't want to take too much time on it, but going back to Dark Glare, that was a card I saw a lot. I faced a lot of Warlocks, and I was confusing Schmoopie Daddy because I was like, yes, it's a Warlock. And he was like, what do you mean? Like, everyone hates them. They're terrible. And I was like, yeah, but I think my deck is kind of unassuming, and they deal like, I'm seeing now that people are not dealing as much damage to themselves. They're kind of like damage healing, but or life stealing, I guess I should say. But initially, like, I would say a lot of my climb was beating Warlocks because they were dealing so much damage to themselves, and I'm just here with my 1/1 pirates, and they're kind of ignoring me, and then I would just burn their face off, and they were like, and then that was it. So like I was confused when I was like, yeah, Warlocks. And he was like, no, nobody likes the Warlocks. They're the bane of everybody's existence except mine, apparently. So
that's rad.
No, I love trying to race them down when I'm playing aggro. Like that's fun for me. So
turn 5 is usually my kill for them, and I definitely notice if I get to 6 or 7 and they finish the quest line, like then I'm in trouble. And I've definitely lost some games like that, but like most of the time I feel like I do really well against them, and I'm like, it's a good matchup for me. So, now that I've given away all my secrets, go play some Scimitar Rogue. You can beat some Warlocks in this meta.
Hey, that's great.
It's really nice whenever your and your opponent's game plans align, because your opponent's game plan is to deal damage to their own face, and your game plan is to deal damage to their own face.
Yeah, I loved that. I was like, you're helping me out here. Like, and as soon as they get into that like 16, 12 range, I know I usually by turn 5 have enough in my hand to take it home. But not always, depends on draw and all that good stuff. But they, like I said, I have a harder time with like Taxus Paladin or Questline Druids than I do. Like when I queue into those, I'm just like, why? And I do it anyway because I feel like the only way I'm going to learn. Like I was really struggling with Pirate Warrior, which by the way I kept saying Warrior Pirate, and Schmoopie Daddy kept laughing at me. So I keep I have to remind myself it's alphabetical. It's Pirate Warrior. So I'll pause every time I say it because I'm thinking P before W. So anyway, I was losing those games a lot because they were just overwhelming me too quickly, especially with the quest line, and I've gotten better at matching that now. So like I'm constantly trying to adjust. But again, that's my learning style is like I'm gonna watch them and try to learn from it.
Yeah.
And go from there. But Dark Glare I saw a ton of, and for a while I was really striving to take it out. But then like I said, I realized that they're damaging themselves so much that I'm just gonna hit their face as much as possible because by turn 5 I can usually finish it off. So
Get them.
That was my bit because the rest of these cards I haven't seen at all in my run. The last 2 cards.
Yeah. Well, one thing that you will notice as you continue to play Hearthstone is when we get these nerfs, 99% of the time they are not for Wild. They nerf around the standard meta, right? And then so unless in extreme cases when the meta is extremely warped and toxic, then they will do Wild nerfs, or sometimes it's like a byproduct of they've nerfed standard and woohoo, it helped us in Wild, right? So
yeah.
Take what you can get. Yeah,
you take what you can get. But yeah, you got off lucky this time. None of your rogue cards have been nerfed, so there is that sad moment when your favorite deck does get nerfed, and luckily I think you're gonna be okay with that deck for a while. I don't think there's any people out with pitchforks trying to destroy rogue right now. So
yeah,
we've talked about that in our house, that like I would be really frustrated especially if I spent like actual money on some of this stuff, like because right now I'm just playing a free, we made it out of whatever I had. If you're spending money on this and you're cultivating your deck and you're learning it, because like I put time into learning this deck and how it works and making it better, and then you lose a card that's integral to your deck. Like I would be mad about that for sure. Because this Schmoopie Daddy had to explain this whole thing to me too. Because I was like, "What do you mean they're nerfing cards? What does that mean? Why do they do this?" I didn't know until a few minutes ago that they could also undo that. So again, always learning something.
The terminology is so funny. Nerfs and buffs. It's like, where do we get this stuff from, right?
So we get nerf from the ball company that has all of the the footballs,
like the Nerf guns,
the Nerf guns,
Nerf
and the
guns,
Nerf darts, right? Yeah.
Is it actually from that?
I have no clue.
I'm like, no way. What are you talking about?
I just said it so confidently that
Cannot be. It'd be funny.
And buff
maybe
comes from bodybuilder, obviously.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Okay. So, but yeah. No. I'm looking it up on Urban Dictionary. That's so you can tell I'm old. Okay. To weaken or make less dangerous, taken from the Nerf brand name, which makes sports equipment toys out of a soft foam.
Sports equipment toys. That's the exact terminology.
Equipment toys.
Yeah. Example given: the Nerf football is soft foam rather than the hard leather of a real football, used frequently in the context of computer game balance changes. There you go.
Soften the card.
Thanks, Urban Dictionary.
Wow.
So
I'm actually
sorry.
No.
teaching, you need Urban Dictionary, or I just ask the kid. Like teenagers are always using new slang words, and I'm just like, I'm old now. Can you just explain this to me? Like I don't know what's happening anymore.
Yeah.
Or two, like they look at me and they either think I'm 21 or they think I'm like 175. So like kids have no perception of age. So I understand. I also am an Urban Dictionary old person. So.
Yeah, I have a 12-year-old, so he says a lot of weird Gen Z stuff that I have to look up. The internet. Everybody,
Yeah.
all these kids these days. But then again, we said a lot of weird things when we were kids too. So, I mean,
For sure.
my dad used to make fun of me because I would say word. And so he would walk around and he'd say that all the time. Word, like making fun of me. So I guess we sound just as stupid as our kids. So there you go.
So,
Yep.
speaking of cards that you didn't see in Wild already,
Right? So we got another one. Granite Forgeborn. This card is a good card, but not something you see too much in Wild. It is a 4-mana 4/5 with an insane battle cry that reads, reduce the cost of elementals in your hand and deck by 1. Now, the nerf does not affect this whatsoever. It has gone down in health by 1 to a 4-mana 4/4. So its effect is still the exact same. In my opinion, this was played a lot for the effect. It had a great Yeti body, but doesn't seem to change a whole lot. It's easily traded into now than it used to be, but I mean, not a card that we see too much in Wild, and I don't think, like, what was this? We need to nerf something in Shaman, so let's just,
This is a standard. This is a standard thing. The card is really good. You know what's crazy? I mean, you can tell that the format is like degenerate when like this card is good enough to be like a legendary, and it's only a rare, and it's still not played in Wild because it's just not good enough. Like,
yeah.
and what's crazy is in Standard, because I play a fair amount of Standard. This didn't affect the play pattern of the card at all. Like,
well, no, you play it for the battle cry, right? You don't play it for the stats.
Yeah,
like,
totally.
Not only do you play it for the battle cry, but like a 4-mana 4/5, okay. A 4-mana 4/4, okay.
Yeah.
Like, it's still sticking about as much, maybe slightly less sticky, but like,
it's fine.
obviously you're playing it for the effect, and it's still a decent stat line. Like, I guess they had some like internal background data on the card that we didn't have, but like it hasn't changed how people in Standard are playing the card like at all.
Yeah. No, this is a non-issue for us. I'm really curious about the next two because I think the next two are ones that we really will be Wild centric.
You called this one as an excellent card, Nate, and that is Conviction. So Conviction was a 1-mana card that basically gave you lethal all the time. Give a random friendly minion +3 attack, and then it upgraded as you went along to giving 3 random friendly minions +3 attack. So 9 extra attack. And it has been nerfed to a 2-mana cost. So rip Odd Pally. You can no longer play this with all your dudes in Odd Paladin. So that's super sad because, it's an epic. I know you get your dust back, but it's sad that you can no longer run it in Odd Paladin. I think Odd Paladin was a fine deck before this card existed, but even Paladin? Question mark?
I think this will get reverted when it rotates for sure. Like, because it was never like Odd Paladin is just, I mean, it's a solid deck. It's been around for a long time. It's good, but it's never been oppressive. I mean, well, tell that to Reva Ryan, but I mean, but like, I don't think that it was a problem. I mean, we'll talk about it in a minute, but like when, 30, 40, 50% of the meta is playing Warlock decks, like who cares about Paladin? So, I think the reason for this nerf was because Conviction combined with the Battle Master, whatever, that gave stuff Wind Fury, was just too... They're trying to discourage burst damage from out of nowhere in Standard, and it's just not a thing for us in Wild, so whatever.
Yeah.
I think what happens is that our meta is tweaked even more because the Paladin decks that were being played, I think now will all be that kind of Death and Taxes Paladin versus Odd Paladin, because this was so good in that deck. And even the, what is it called, Knight of Anointment or whatever that 1-mana 1/1 is, that draw a holy spell, like, okay, now it doesn't pull this anymore either. And so it's just I don't know, kind of sad, but I guess we'll see what happens at rotation. So yeah, this one hit us pretty hard. I don't think it's definitely a standard nerf, but
Yeah.
Standard nerf that got us, by accident, I feel.
Yeah. I can definitely see this being getting the unnerf mallet whenever it rotates, but this came out with Forged in the Barrens, so this won't rotate
for a long time.
Oh boy.
yeah, until like March of 2023.
Oof.
So it'll be a while.
Ouch.
I can see it being unnerfed whenever it happens, but yeah, there'll probably be better things to be doing by the time that happens. That said, a 1-mana Pyroblast is a 1-mana Pyroblast, so I can still see it happening whenever it works its way in 2023.
And
Yeah.
you really made that sound so far in the future.
I mean, it kind of is, though.
Yeah.
It's almost 2 years away.
Yeah, because it's just a brand new card, basically. Okay, well, we have one last nerf, and it's another to Warlock, and Flesh Giant got hit. It is no longer 8 mana. It retained its stats because it's a giant. It is an 8/8 still, but it is now a 9 mana giant with the same text that costs 1 less for every time your hero's health has changed during your turns. So is it really, really that hard to discount this when it's only 1 more mana? Is this that big? Should it have been nerfed a little more? I think it would have been really cool if it was 10 mana. That way it could go in even lock, because even lock is something that I would love to see actually be solid and return. But it doesn't seem like it's that big of a hit. Nate, what do you think?
This is not a nerf. Like, whatever. I don't think this doesn't change anything. Like, in order to make it more difficult, it needed to be at least a 10. And even then, like, I don't think that it really changes anything. Like, you do so much damage to yourself. Like, it's so easy to play this for cheap.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think it really makes for sheep. Yeah. I don't think this really makes a big difference. And I don't, whatever. I don't really have much else to say about it other than that. Like, it doesn't feel like it really got hit very hard at all.
SchmoopieMommy, have you seen this card come down for 0 mana, 1 mana quite a bit?
Yeah, a ton. It's actually one of like my most frequent screenshots of victory is a board of like 4 of those. But it's usually like, because I know like that it's impending doom if I don't take them out, and if I have the opportunity, I do. So that's usually I've seen an absolute ton of them, and I didn't notice the change. I know they may have, but I've been seeing just as many, I would say. So
So you know the meme from The Office where Pam says it's the same picture. But that is this nerf. It changed pretty much nothing for them either. Like you didn't notice a difference because they didn't notice a difference.
Yeah. Yeah, it's still coming down for super cheap, super early. No big deal. And guess what? There's Raise Dead, and they can make more.
The only difference is that you can't play it in a even Warlock. So I'm sorry, Ben, and no one else was affected.
You're right. I didn't think about that, but
Yeah.
there's other things to play anyways. I mean, whatever.
Uh-huh.
All in all, like I feel like, you know, the nerfs as a whole, the only thing that really hit us was the nerf to Conviction, and it just means that you can't play Odd Paladin anymore, at least not a good version of it. So, you know,
Yeah.
anyhow.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
that's basically all we had for our nerfs. The meta is what we're actually going to get into, and we'll talk about to see if it's actually changed. So, Nate, let's get into a discussion about the meta.
Yeah, so real quick, we did get a question from a listener in Discord, and so I wanted to kind of combine the question with this, just an observation about the meta, and this doesn't have to be, you know, a real long conversation, but and so let me first say that I kind of took an informal poll over the past week about what people were seeing, and I got here we go. I got these different screenshots from people, and so was talking to I got these from White Delight, Valento, Pace, Blue Train, Glare, El Tino, and I think there was another person. But anyhow, like looking at all of these, like what do these pictures have in common? Like Warlock is just making up such a massive amount of the meta here. One of them, so I'm looking at my notes here: 39%, 56%, another 56%, 53%, 37%. Just like it's too much. I mean, I don't know what else to say. Like, it's it's warping the meta, I suppose, and I'm not really sure what to say about it, except that it doesn't feel healthy. And I guess I think what it kind of makes you do is then it's not what's a good deck in Wild, it's what beats Warlock. And so, okay, you play the most aggressive deck that you can, and so you got this real aggressive, like, you know, your Scimitar Rogue or Kingsbane Rogue or Pirate Warrior or like Face Hunter or something where, like we were talking about earlier, they're doing a bunch of damage to themselves, and then you want to just help them along a little bit. But that's not, like, I don't know, it doesn't feel native to the format. Like, I haven't seen a Reno deck all month. It's crazy. And so
I saw 2 of them tonight.
Wow, I'm impressed.
Yeah.
Because I played against Slide in THL.
Oh, well, there you go. There you go. And so, you know, it's interesting. Now, I mean, we'll talk about it next week, probably. I haven't had a chance to really look over Ixar's AMA, but this was brought up many times tonight, and he mentioned it a little bit, saying that, you know, if it's an outlier, you know, or extreme win rate type thing, that it might get some adjusting. And so we'll see. I mean, I don't really know what to say about it aside from that. I just, you know, in looking at these, it's like, whoa, that's too much. That's too much Warlock. You know, in the perfect world, this pie graph is at least somewhat more spread out, and we're seeing it kind of all over the place, you know. But when we're talking about, you know, a third, 2/3, 50% or whatever Warlock, it's, I guess 2/3 is not right. But in some cases over 50% Warlock, it's just too much. So
Yeah. I don't know the win rate of the deck or class, but it's definitely overrepresented, regardless of win rate. you're running into it a disproportionate amount of the time. Like it's absurd how much you run into warlocks. Much to SchmoopieMommy's benefit lately, which is awesome. But it's a little excessive, not gonna lie.
Yeah, it feels bad to me. So I've kind of been avoiding the format, which I don't like doing. And I don't know, like it feels weird, but like I don't want to play against that. I don't know. Anyways, we got a question from Pink in our Discord. The question is, when you're climbing to Legend or in Legend, when do you decide that your pocket meta is not very nice on your current deck and decide to swap? Also, when climbing near when an expansion releases, do you play older lists you're more familiar with, try to put cards in decks you're more comfortable with, or try to play with new decks? And I thought this was a really interesting question because I thought, like, this is one of those where you, like, ask 4 people, get 4 different answers. And, like, this, for me personally, like, with all the new cards coming out and all this uncertainty, like, that's why I hit Legend on day 1. Is because I didn't know what was in store with all these new cards and what was going to happen. And it was like, well, let me just jam this, aggressive Pirate Warrior real quick and to, get to Legend, and then I can goof around with the new stuff. But some people I know wanted to wait until the new cards came out. And then, of course, as the meta warps, as they're describing here, like, oh, wow, do we change it? Do we try the new stuff? Do we... It's almost kind of funny. Like, there is an argument to be made for, and I think we had all kind of raged about it a little bit. Like, day 1, the new expansion drops, everyone is playing, experimenting with their new cards, and then someone jumps on and plays like old Pirate Warrior with no new cards, or old Secret Mage with no new cards, and and just does really well because they're playing against a bunch of untested new stuff. So I don't know what the perfect answer is for me. I mean, I know what I did. I'm not super proud of it. But like, but anyways, I mean, Sheep, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of depends on the expansion release, really. Like, especially in our format for Wild. So this past go around, the new expansion released, and I ended up pushing for Legend after the expansion released with Questline Pirate Warrior, which is a pretty different build of Pirate Warrior from the previous ones, right? It's just the deck in the new meta that resonated with me. It's a very different kind of aspect. Whereas with Forged in the Barrens, whenever that released, I ended up hitting Legend with Aggro Druid because it was just still good and still fun and still well situated in the meta. So it's kind of a cop-out answer, but it depends, right? Like if there's a particular deck in a given meta after an expansion releases that resonates with me, then I will play that deck. And whenever I'm playing a deck, I'm playing it on ladder. And if I haven't hit Legend yet, then I'm probably climbing. So kind of depends on the expansion. This one I did it with a new deck. Last one I didn't. So it depends. How about you, Hydra?
So for me, when we get these new releases, I do my experimenting not necessarily in Wild. I like to observe Wild and play the stuff that I'm comfortable with. I don't just go jam Secret Mage, trust me, I don't do that. But I will stick with what I know for a while, and then I like to see how the meta is shaping up, what other people are playing, what decks I'm now losing to, and I get to see what is kind of good, and then I will adapt after. So I don't necessarily just jump on every new card right away in Wild. Where I do go to experiment with the new cards just because they have the bigger impact is I will hop into Standard and I'll just make a full Standard deck with a whole bunch of new cards and like to see their interaction how they work and have fun with it there. But as for Wild, like I said, I will quite often stick with what I know for a little bit and then watch the meta evolve, and then I will kind of decide where I'm going, what direction I'm going to take. That's a bit of a, like, it's so fun when you get the new cards and want to do new things, but, like, for me, the new cards have such a low impact in general in Wild that you don't get to fully experience them. So that's why I will go do that in Standard. But then we get things like this with quest lines and, well, holy crap, right? Like that.
They're a lot.
It's an outlier, but yeah, exactly.
They're a lot better than I thought they were going to be too.
Yeah. And so, and then we got other cool things, like we have the Shadow Priest, which is another deck you can play, right? Like basically a new archetype, which is really, really cool. So I do think that that's pretty neat that this expansion had an immediate effect on Wild. Sometimes we don't see change at all for the longest time in a row. But yeah, that's how I handle it usually.
I'm really excited for you, SchmoopieMommy, whenever you continue to build your collection, and then whenever a new expansion releases and you're like, ooh, I want to play with that new shiny thing. Like, that's going to be really fun for you. I'm really excited the further you get into the game.
For it too. I mean, I feel like, again, there's so much, and then it's ever changing, which is good to keep people, I guess, engaged. And I could see, like, I haven't experienced this. I couldn't give advice on it, but listening to you guys talk about how, like, you can use a deck that and that you're familiar with, and then you can play with these new things, and you have these different experiences. Like, it seems like it's something that, they keep it interesting. It's not like I'm gonna kind of get bored. I know sometimes that might happen for people who've been playing a long time, but it seems like they're trying to, keep it moving. So it's good.
Absolutely. They're definitely keeping it fresh.
Right? Like, every once in a while they drop a bomb, like this quest line Warlock or Stealer or something, that it's like, all right, Wild, you wanted something crazy? Here's something crazy. You guys bored?
I saw a meme earlier. I think someone posted it in the Discord, but it was something to the effect of like, here it is. It was like, it was about the Warlock's illustrious career in Wild, and it's that meme of like the bartender from The Simpsons, like throwing out the person from the bar, and then they just come back through the back door and get thrown out again, right? And it was like Naga Sea Witch, and then Snip Snap, and then Darkest Hour, and then Tiller, and then Stealer of Souls, and now it's the quest line, and it's like, all right, what's next? But I will say, it's always fun to play with the new things, and who would have thought that like the Druid quest line would be good, or even the Hunter one is not bad, and so yeah, I like seeing the new stuff, and I hope that something happens to switch things around a little bit, but yeah, we'll get there.
It's a good time to get your Golden Warlock if you don't have it.
Oh, we're supposed to ask, how many rogue wins do you have, by the way?
Hold, please.
Yeah.
It's like 400 something.
What?
Hold on.
Moment of truth.
Okay, guys, I play way too much, and like I totally know that. I really do. But like I said, and it I've definitely lost some games because I'm multitasking, and I'm not actually good at multitasking, but I do it anyway. Because like I'm always doing something. Very rarely, like the only time you'll find that I'm playing like undistracted is after the kids have gone to bed. If I have some time or energy, I'll do it then. But otherwise, it's like just kind of throughout the day. I have 433 wins.
Whoa! Oh, that's
That's
so
incredible.
cool. Oh my goodness.
You're
That's
gonna have a golden Valera by the end of the month. I swear.
But I need to reach legend before that happens because it just I don't know. I just feel like I do. Again, I didn't even know I wanted this, you know. I was just like, I'm gonna play this game with my husband. And then now I'm kinda like obsessed with it. So
that's
but
cool.
yeah.
Did he show you like
One of us.
right? I love it. I love it. So did you find out like what happens when you hit 500 wins, when you hit 1,000 wins?
Yeah, I had to ask him a lot of questions about stuff like that. I'm like, why is their thing gold? And he is like, because they have this many wins. And same thing with portraits changing. And like, I had no idea how to recognize that. Something I still don't. Like sometimes I'm like, wait, is this one 1,000 wins? I don't know. So he's patient. He's a teacher. He's a patient man.
That's great.
He explains a lot. But yeah, nobody like tells you these things, so I didn't know why someone had a gold ring or someone didn't.
That's so cool. You'll get there so soon.
Around their hero power. That's what I'm supposed to say. I'm supposed to use real terminology, not like the gold circle thingy.
I like the golden ring. I'm going to adopt that vernacular. I
That's
like
great.
it.
I've got plenty of them, so I just describe things. I use descriptive words of what I see, and they sometimes come out pretty funny. So.
There was a lot of times like there's so many cards in Wild that I don't always use the names. It's like, oh, it's the one that says this one thing. I don't even know, like,
Hello, greetings, fellow humans.
Greetings, fellow humans. Yeah.
right. I don't even know what that card is called, or like Two Arms Men, You know, Two Arms Men, and Get Down. I mean, like, I don't.
Like a whole other level too, because I'm always playing on my phone. I don't play on my computer, and I'm always on mute because I'm holding a baby like 90% of the time. So I don't even know. Like this one time, I had my headphones on, and I have the game muted, but I was listening to music, and if I open the app before I open my music app, the sounds will turn on, and I was like, "What is happening?" And he was like, "Those are the sound effects," and I was like, "Oh, okay." Something else new. So
What is the name of the guy that comes out of Noble Sacrifice? What's he actually called?
I don't know.
Get
what
down guy.
What I do know is that if he doesn't die for whatever reason, like when he attacks, he says, "I lived." It's so it's
Like he hits a doomsay. Or no, wait. How could he?
no,
wait,
like
how could
If there's also the secret that gives the minion that gets attacked a divine shield.
yeah, or the one that the one that brings it back at 1 health. There's
And
that too.
the token is called Defender, by the way.
Defender. I lived.
That's great. That's great. Oh man. All right. Well, we should move along. I think maybe to our weekly challenge here, unless anyone has any other thoughts about the meta aside from our Warlock overlords and smashing them in the face. I think is how we beat them.
That is a great summary of the meta right now. Not gonna lie.
Amazing summary. If you don't like the Warlocks, smash them in the face.
I mean, that's it, right?
like my gameplay's a little more sophisticated than that. I know like some people probably are like, oh, like there's no thought to it, but there is. Like I definitely have to be strategic, and it does depend on my draw, of course, but like I just have found a lot of the time with them. I think they just think I'm unassuming. I think that's really what it is.
Oh no, trust me. I've been playing this game for like 6 years, and I think in that linear thing sometimes. Like I'm just gonna hit face. Like it, and yeah, that's totally coming from me. Like
I mostly ignore their minions. Yeah.
This is how I am going to win.
Yeah,
like you need a game plan.
Yeah, aggro definitely has a lot more decision points than some people give it credit for.
Oh, 100%.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
When to trade, when to go face, when to value trade, etc. It's every turn has a lot of decision points, which is fun.
I agree. All right. Well, let's transition then. Sheep, can I pass it over to you for the weekly challenge?
Absolutely. So last week's challenge from podcast episode 73 was in honor of Diablo 2. How many skeletons can you summon and stick to the board at the same time? So they could be on your side and your opponent's side, which is why the winner had more than 7. In the event of a tie, in the number of skeletons, then we would look at stats. That didn't end up coming into play for this one. So any cards that have the word skeleton in the title count towards your overall total. So the winner, back in with the crown, is our friend Kinray. So Kinray, congratulations on amassing 11 Skellymen.
That's a pretty large skeleton army. Yeah.
It was incredible. So there was like a back and forth. Like Jordan set the bar with 7, and later that night, like he was usurped with an 8, and it got up to 11. Like 11 Skellymen. There are only 14 total possibilities. Like that's incredible. So kudos, Kinray.
This one really did go to 11.
Great Spinal Tap reference. So congratulations, Kinray, on turning it up to 11. Not just 10, but 11.
Very nice.
So you win 2 packs on us. And of course, the more important goal, the more important reward is bragging rights.
Right.
So Kinray, back on top.
Yep. I'm not surprised, but great work as always. Happy to see it. And we didn't give any clues, so it took a while for them to discover whatever this 2-headed ogre thing is called that generates the 2/2s on your opponent's board. So anyways, good games by all. That was a lot of fun to watch the progress. All right.
Absolutely. So that brings us to this week's challenge. This week's challenge was proposed by the spouse of SchmoopieMommy. So this week's challenge is to make the best core-only deck to climb the apprentice ranks. You don't have to climb the apprentice ranks yourself, but core-only deck to climb the apprentice ranks. So bonus points if you can build something that someone can use from game 1. So no unlocked cards. That's bonus points. So definitely a judgment call. So Schmoopie Daddy will help us in evaluating all of these decks. So jump into either the playhearthstone.com deck builder, or these are all core cards that you should have from the get-go. Jump into your collection manager. Pull it that way as well. Share it with us in the Discord, in the contest entries section of the Born to Be Wild Discord. That is how you will enter to possibly win. So the judge for this go around is Schmoopie Daddy to determine what is the most viable deck of core cards only to climb the apprentice ranks.
I love it.
Nice.
Yeah, he says here free cards of any kind are legal, rewards track or otherwise. So there you go.
I feel like this was total bait just to get me to make another account. Like totally.
I hear you have 3.
Well, I play on 3 servers, but then I also have these other accounts tied to other email addresses that I play on also, and I don't know why I do it.
It's not healthy.
In the words of
No
the late
judgment here.
great Billy Mays. But wait, there's more.
There is like, and I just sometimes I'm like, I want to start from the beginning again, and then I do, and I go through the apprentice ranks, and I don't know why I do it. And then the problem is they got this rewards track in the daily quest and the weekly quest, and then you get addicted, and you're like, I have to complete them all. So, I mean, if you don't need to, don't do it. Nobody needs to. Just don't do it. I'll leave it at that.
That's been my strat. But I very much respect your grind and your hustle for acquiring the card collection on 3 different servers. That's incredible. So, again, this week's challenge: make the best core set or free card only deck that you can. Submit it to the contest entries section of our Discord, and our buddy Schmoopie Daddy will evaluate and come up with the winner for this week.
Nice.
Nice.
Very cool.
And of course, the winner gets 2 packs on us and the more valuable reward of bragging rights.
Of course. Awesome. All right, well, that pretty much wraps it up for our show tonight. Before we call it an evening, I did want to say a couple of thank yous, primarily to the patrons of our show. And so Shokunin, the executive producer of our show, thank you so much for all of your support. We really appreciate you, as well as our other patrons. So big shout outs to Disruptor 108, Claudette G, Daniel B, Wildcard, Aramorn, Ben from Work, Turtle Boy, and Number Theory. Thank you all very much for your continued support. It means a ton to us, and we really appreciate it. If anybody out there who is watching or listening is interested in supporting the show financially, you can visit our website at borntobewildhs.com. If you click the Find Us page, there's a link to our Patreon. There's plans as little as $1 a month if that's something that you're interested in doing, but please do not feel obligated to at all. It's something that helps, but I don't want anyone to feel like they need to do it. Lastly, if you're somebody who's on Twitch a lot and you want to use our emotes, if you subscribe to our channel here, we've got several emotes that you can unlock to use in other people's channels. So super cool. Anyways, I think the largest thank you here is to SchmoopieMommy for donating your time tonight to hang out with us. It was really great to talk to you and to kind of hear all your stories, hear about the game from kind of a new player perspective. And again, I want to congratulate you on like just the amount of progress that you've made in like 1 month is incredible. Just absolutely incredible. I think you have outgunned all of us by far. I mean, you've made way more progress than any of us. And so it's super cool and sounds like a fun time kind of bonding with your spouse. And so yeah, thank you so much for coming on and hanging out with us tonight.
Thank you so much for having me. I was, again, just stunned to be invited, and I was really excited for it, and I had a wonderful time hanging out with you guys. So I appreciate it, and I'm sure Schmoopie Daddy will keep updating you guys as we go through this. So
can't wait.
Thank you so much
and
for having me.
It's only a matter of time before you hit Legend. It's normal to feel that kind of ladder anxiety. We all get that, but I just want to assure you that you're doing absolutely like incredible, and you're gonna outrank him by far. It's only a matter of time, and you will get there.
That's incredible.
Yes.
Astonishing.
Yeah. Anyways, if you're ever interested, we do have a Discord channel that we've got a bunch of people who kind of hang out there and chat about the game and post decks and stuff. And so if you're ever in the mood to interact with us, you're more than welcome to join. And anybody else listening or watching for that matter, we'd always love to have you. And yeah, it was just really great to hear your experiences and the progress that you're making. Super cool.
Awesome. I'm happy to share it, and I hope that I made sense and I got the terminology right and all that good stuff. But I'm sure it's weird to see it because you guys are so, you've been doing this a while, so it's probably weird to see it from that beginner stage again with the lack of knowledge. I'm acquiring it as I go.
It's really good though to see that perspective, because I think we've all been in it for such a long time that it's easy to forget. Mm-hmm. But we were all there. We were all there at one point. It's kind of been a while, but like it's easy to forget. And
I remember listening to podcasts when I first started playing. Like the Angry Chicken is one that's been around since the start, and they would say words that I did not understand whatsoever. Like tempo and aggro and mid-range, just basics like that. And I'm like, I don't know what any of this means. So like, totally feel ya. It's been a long time, and it's like, so completely like understand the whole thing. I had to Google so many words. I actually would sit here because I didn't have anybody to ask. I didn't even have Hearthstone friends.
I was gonna say I'm fortunate that I have a human Google in my house.
Yeah.
That's great. Super cool. Alrighty. Well, yeah. Are you ever planning on like streaming your games, or do you have anything that you want to promote, whether it's social media or anything like that?
As of right now, it's definitely not something I've thought about doing again. Like being a new player and just kind of like trying to find my footing. I was shocked when one of my games got recorded, and I was just like, "Oh no, please, gosh." And then social media wise, again, being a teacher, I know a lot of teachers do social media. I kind of steer away from it to keep like my personal life and my work life separate. But I'm definitely interested in
wise decision, maybe. I think.
Yeah.
From speaking from experience, I think that's pretty smart. So very cool, very cool. Well,
but myself. I think being part of the community is definitely something I'm interested in doing, but no social media to promote. And I know you're trying to wrap things up, so I'll stop rambling.
Sounds good. All right, hey Sheep, where can people find you online if they would like to interact with you?
Absolutely. So you can find me around the internet at Electric Sheep City at places where that fits, like Twitch, and at eSheep City at places where, Electric Sheep City doesn't fit, like Twitter. How about you, Hydra? Where can people find you around this World Wide Web?
You can always find me here on this podcast on Friday nights. And if you want to get in contact with me, you can always see me on Twitter and Twitch at Hydralisk_HS, and in our Discord, which Nate did bring up earlier. I highly recommend, if you're listening to the show and you're looking for a community that loves this game and loves the format of Wild, it's a great place to be, and a great place just to chat about the game you love or about whatever else, because we got a channel for everything. How about you, Nate? Where can people get a hold of you?
Yeah. If anyone wants to chat or hang out or co-op or whatever, pretty active on Twitter. My handle there is NateWolfTCG, so it's NateWolfeTCG. More importantly, you can find the show and everything related there at our website. It's borntobewildhs.com. I've been trying to keep it updated each week, and so it's current right now with all of our episodes and our YouTube content and stuff, and recently went through and extracted all of our past lore episodes. And so if you're interested in learning the stories behind any of the cards, all of the lore episodes have their own special channel there. So that's been a lot of fun. And yeah. One final thing that we have been doing lately that I'd like to close out the show with are just some shout outs kind of to members of our community. And so this week I wanted to give a big shout out to the Final Union from our Discord, who has been sharing pictures of a Gundam that they're building. And it's just been fun to watch this model kind of come together over the past week, of all these kind of photos of this robot being assembled, and that's been a lot of fun. But even more importantly, they've been playing a game called Hollow Knight that's very near and dear to my heart, which is super fun to also watch the progress there. And they beat the Radiance, which is like the hidden final boss, and it only took 6 tries, which is crazy because it has taken me many more tries and I still haven't done it yet. I've beat the game aside from that, and so it's just super cool to watch. So congratulations and good luck on Godhome. Hydra, anyone you want to shout out?
Yeah, I wanted to shout out Martian Boo, very well-known Wild streamer. I really appreciate going into his streams because I feel like he sets a really good example for myself and for anybody who really likes to watch somebody who like this man is so in control of his emotions when he plays the game that it blows my mind. Whenever I watch and I see somebody talk something and something where I would, get upset. I need to walk around my living room. I'm like, why did that happen? He's like, all right, next game. Right? Like,
right?
Like he's just so calm and collected and moves on to the next game. And he's like, yep, they had it. Like nothing I can do about it. And I always appreciate his attitude, how he takes his wins and his losses and puts perspective into things. So total shout out to Martian Boo. Really appreciate your stream.
Yeah. What about you, Sheep?
Yeah, so I would like to shout out Oddlaw and Slight for being class act opponents in our most recent Wild THL matches. Incredible matches and incredible sportsmanship from both of those gents. So big shout out to both of them. It was a pleasure doing not business, but battle. Pleasure doing battle with them.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, and finally, SchmoopieMommy, is there any shout outs or any kind of final words that you want to offer up before we wrap up the show here?
Yeah. Okay. So shout outs to Neon Heron and of course Schmoopie Daddy, because those are my, my first buddies here in Hearthstone and the people that I'm learning from and who have very generously welcomed me into playing with them. And I think that's kind of it. I'm really grateful to be here today, and I had a lot of fun. And shout out to you guys. You're doing an awesome job. I think it's great, and thanks.
Oh, that's so nice. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wiser words were never spoken, and you heard that on Born to be Wild.